Hi, everybody, and welcome back. We're going to talk about The Bird of the River by Kage Baker. And this is the third in the series that started with Anvil of the World and The House of the Stag. Yeah, memory. So this is the last book in that series. And this one was published, I believe, in 2010. And let me double check for you. Yes, 2010. And it has a map. So we are in the same world as the Anvil of the World and the House of the Stag. This book, though, involves different characters. A young lady named Ellis and her younger brother named Adler. Adler? Let me just double check because Yeah, Alder. Adler? I mixed up the L and the D. Yeah, anyway. Ellis and her younger brother, Alder. And these two folks are traveling with their mother, who is a trained diver. And in this world, divers are all women, and they are specially trained to hold their breath for the length of a certain prayer. And I'm assuming that prayer is really, really long. And the purpose of them training to be divers is not to dive for pearls or anything like that. It's to actually go down into waterways and remove snags or locate snags. So there might be giant trees that are blocking the waterways. So the divers go down and they identify that so those snags can be removed. And Ellis and Alder's mom, Felina, is trained to do this. And right now, they don't have a home. They don't have anything like that. So the story opens with them trying to find their mother, basically them finding their mother a job because their mother is hooked on something called yellow, some kind of a drug. But they need a job because these two kids and their mom need someplace to live and someplace, to eat and all that. And so they come across a harbor master, finds out that there's a barge out on the river that is looking for divers. So that is the Bird of the River. So the Bird of the River is the name of a ship, of a barge. It's really big and it has cranes and all kinds of stuff on it, but it's not like, like the barges that you see out in the rivers today. This one has a full-on crew and houses so many people, a lot of divers and other people on this boat. And her mother does get a job, and she's really nervous about doing this. She hasn't done this in a really long time, so she's a little bit nervous about it. But she has a successful dive the first time, but the second time isn't so successful for her because she gets scared to death by a body that's found in the river. So the boat comes across a snag, and the divers are called to go down, and she's one of them. And when they go down, they find a body, and this body scared her to death. And she literally, died in the river. And this is really hard for Ellis and Alder because now they don't know, what their future is going to look like. Now that mom is dead, they don't know if they get to stay on the ship. Well, it turns out that they do. And Ellis becomes a really good spotter of these snags. So this book goes into their adventures on this river. Now, there's something about Alder that most people in this world discriminate against. So Alder is actually green. So he is his father was one of the Yendri, so the people that live peacefully out on the land. So you'll remember in my last video, or the video about House of the Stag, where Guard was one of the greens. His skin was green, and he was one of the Yendri, very peaceful folk. And he is very concerned about it. He feels like he doesn't belong anywhere. Now, he knows that he's half children of the sun, and he knows that he's half Yendri, but he doesn't know who his father is. And he's probably what, like around 10 or so in this story when it opens up. And at one of the ports, they come across a I don't know if it's a disciple, like a disciple of the mother who was the lady from the House of the Stag that we learned about. So the angel from the House of the Stag. And he comes on board the ship. And of course, Alder is like, so here's a person who shares culture with him. And so he's fascinated by this and he wants to know everything about it. He wants to know about that side of his life. And it troubles him because his sister is alone. Now, his sister is older than he is, but he's now the one that's supposed to take care of her and all this kind of stuff. And that's what the disciple said. In fact, that has nothing to do with it. The disciple's name was Mr. Moss. So you'll hear me refer to him as Moss. And he convinces Alder to stay with his sister. He's like, look, you don't have anybody here to take care of you guys. So in the Yendri communities, we take care of our women. And he's like, okay, I'll take care of her. And Ellis knows that he's struggling with this, but she doesn't want to let him go because he's only 10 and he wants to go with Mr. Moss wherever Mr. Moss is going. And eventually he does go with Mr. Moss. And this is really hard for Ellis because it's always been, Alder and herself. And so she has to figure out how she's going to deal with him leaving and being gone for she doesn't know how long. So the book is basically, I don't know if I'd call it a coming of age story, but it kind of is because Ellis has to learn that she could rely on herself and that she has skills and those skills are valuable. She becomes a very good spotter. So when they are cruising the waterway, so they go on a circuit that starts in the ocean and goes up through a river and a couple of lakes and comes back down, they're always scanning for snags in the river. So this barge is always moving around. And she goes up to the crow's nest and starts watching, sitting really high on the mast of the ship, watching what the river's doing. And she's learned the language of the river in a way that she knows whether a certain movement in the water means that there's a giant log underneath or an animal underneath or something like that. And she's become really good at spotting it. And usually the snags are marked with buoys. Well, she can find things without buoys. And so her skill is developed and valued by the folks on the Bird of the River. So she has basically a permanent job because she can foresee these things and identify these snags before anything bad happens. And the bulk of the story is about that body they found in the river. So as I said earlier, Ellis and Alder's mother, Felena, died because she basically had a heart attack underwater because she ran into this body and it scared her to death. So this body is what drives the rest of the story and the adventures on the Bird of the River. So Ellis gets to meet all kinds of different people, including a young man who is, I don't know what you call him. I don't know what you call him. He takes care of a family in a way that protects this family and avenges the family for certain things. And there is a long line of family members that do this for a specific family. I don't know if it's like the mob or I don't know how to explain it. But I'm not going to go into all of that. That's what the book is for, right? But it's a fun little book. I enjoyed it very much. I'm sad that I finished it already, but as I said before, this is a series that I'm probably going to read again because I just enjoyed it and I want to see if I missed anything while I was reading it. But they do run into some interesting people. We learn about some of the cultural beliefs. There's a forge where they offer things to the what is he called, like the blacksmith or something, and his giant anvil and all this stuff. So it's just really neat. I enjoyed it very much. Does it have a happy ending? I'm not going to tell you. Got to read the story for that. But um, go to your library, see if they have this book. If they don't, see if they can order it from someone. Maybe another library has it. You may get lucky and find it online. This book was hard for me to find, but I did find it, obviously, because here it is. But I will leave links to where I found it, and maybe other places that have copies to it. Unfortunately, Miss Baker passed away in 2010, so we will not get any more stories about the bird of the river. And I was kind of hoping that there would be another one about Alder and his adventures with the Yendri. What did he learn? What, did he prefer living there? Did he prefer, living with the children of the sun, or what? I would have liked to have seen that. Unfortunately, that won't come to fruition unless she had started one, and it's in her personal archive. Maybe there's somebody who can finish that story, that series out for her, but I don't know. I couldn't find anything else about her online, other than what you can find in like Wikipedia or whatever. Yeah, go to your library, check out this book. It was really fun to read. And I'm not sure if I read it, like I read it in like the order that the books were published, but I saw somewhere that I should read A House of the Stag first, and then The Anvil of the World, and then The Bird of the River. But it doesn't really matter because these stories are self-contained. So one doesn't lead you into the next one, right? So I think you can read them in whatever order you want. I don't think it's going to ruin anything for you. None of the books spoil anything for the other books, which is kind of nice. They're like an anthology, a separate story in each one. But as I said, I enjoyed the book. Leave down in the comments what you're reading. If you have read this book, let me know. I would be happy to talk to you about it if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know that too. Maybe we can discuss, the things that you struggled with the book that made it unreadable or unlikable or whatever for you. I'm saying again. That's going to become my catchphrase. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. All right? Y'all have a great day. Thank you very much for coming. Bye.